And yet, when it happens, it still hits with a depth that can be surprising. Because no matter how much we knew it was coming, we are never fully prepared for what it actually feels like. The shift, the absence. Hi, my friend. Welcome to the Bounce Back Black Woman podcast. I'm Dell, and I've overcome some of the most devastating heartbreaks I could ever have imagined. Do you find yourself stuck in sadness after a broken heart, asking God, why me? Well, I'm here to help women just like you heal and build the resilience to overcome life's greatest hurts. If you long for joy and confidence again, this podcast is for you. So grab your headphones and those heartbreaks. Let's talk. Hey there, my friend, and welcome back to Bounce Back Black Woman. Today we're closing out our series that I called The Many Faces of Heartbreak. And over the past few episodes, you know that we've already talked about heartbreak in relationships, heartbreak in friendships, and heartbreak in the life that we imagined for ourselves. But today we are talking about a kind of heartbreak that actually shifts something much deeper in us, and that is loss. The kind of heartbreak that comes from losing someone or something that cannot be replaced. Loss and grief is different from other types of heartbreak, because with many of the other forms of heartbreak, there is still the possibility of repair, of replacement, of moving forward into something new. But with loss, there is a finality that doesn't exist necessarily in the other forms of heartbreak. There is a before and an after, and your life feels like it will forever be divided by that moment. Loss can take on many forms: losing a parent, losing a spouse or a partner, losing a child, divorce or the end of a marriage, even losing a pet. And while each of those experiences are different, they all share one thing in common. They leave an absence that cannot be filled the same way ever again. And this is a space that I understand, both personally and through people that I love deeply. I've experienced profound loss in my own life. I had a husband pass away right in my own living room. A moment that changed me instantly, forever. A moment that divides your life into the before and the after. I've also experienced divorce, which is a different kind of loss, because the person is still there, but the relationship is gone. And that can carry its own kind of grief and feel even a little bit confusing. I've also had to say goodbye to a beloved pet, which some people might minimize, but for anyone who has loved an animal deeply, you know that loss is real and it's hard. And there's one specific type of loss that I want to acknowledge and give proper space to, because it's one that deserves its own space: the loss of a child. Because while every form of loss is painful, there is something uniquely devastating about this one. It goes against the natural order of life. Parents are not supposed to outlive their children. And when that happens, it creates a kind of grief that I know is difficult to put into words. And I want to be very clear here. This is not something that I have personally experienced, but it is something that I've come to understand, in part, through the stories and the lives of others. And even from that place, I know enough to say this: that kind of loss changes everything. It's not just the loss of a person, it's the loss of a future, the loss of what was expected, what was hoped for, what was imagined and dreamed about. It's birthdays that will never be celebrated the same way, milestones that never came, a presence that is deeply missed in ways that don't fade over time. And for anyone listening who has experienced that kind of loss, I just want to say this very gently. There's no right way to carry that grief. It is going to look how it is going to look from moment to moment, day to day, week to week, and year to year. There is no timeline. There is no expectation that you should ever move on. But there is space for you to continue living, for you to continue loving, for you to continue honoring the life that was part of yours. And if you're someone who knows a parent who has experienced this kind of loss, this is your reminder. They may never stop grieving, but they still need to feel seen. They still need and deserve compassion, and they still need presence. Because some heartbreaks are not meant to be resolved. They are meant to simply be held. And even before fully understanding the depth of that kind of loss, there were moments in my life where I became aware of it, sometimes from a distance and sometimes later in life. I've had family members and friends lose a son, suddenly and tragically. I've had friends lose a baby that had yet to even be born. And even without being closely connected at the time, that kind of loss still leaves an impact. Not in the same way, but in a way that stays with you. Because you don't have to be in the center of it in real time in order to understand the depth of that pain and how it changes a person forever. You begin to understand, even if only in part, just how life-altering that kind of loss is. And it expands your awareness of grief. It expands your ability to be more compassionate. It shapes the way you see others. And it allows you to be more thoughtful and more mindful of the pain that others may be carrying. And I want to pause here for a moment to talk about something that many women experience or have experienced, and that is the loss of a parent, especially the loss of a mother, because there's something unique about that kind of grief. It's the one loss that we are in many ways prepared for, if you can ever be prepared for that. We know intellectually that this is the natural order of life, that parents go before we do, that this moment will come. And yet, when it happens, it still hits with a depth that can be surprising. Because no matter how much we knew it was coming, we are never fully prepared for what it actually feels like. The shift, the absence, the realization that the person who knew you in a very intimate and specific way is no longer here. And for many women, that loss becomes a turning point, a moment where something shifts internally. Identity, perspective, and even how you move through the world. So if you listen to this podcast, you know we always talk about why these things hurt so much. And loss hurts so deeply because it doesn't just remove a person or a relationship from your life. It disrupts your entire sense of reality. it changes your whole emotional landscape. It alters your sense of safety because suddenly something or someone that you once relied on, something or someone that you assumed would always be there, is gone. Grief also impacts us physically, friend. You might feel heaviness in your body, exhaustion that doesn't make sense because you're getting the kind of sleep or the hours of sleep that you think you should be. You might feel difficulty concentrating or focusing on tasks or finishing things. You might feel changes in your sleep where you are awakening at wee hours of the night or not sleeping deeply enough to be rested and alert the next day. And you might have emotional waves that come seemingly out of nowhere. And this is all because grief is not just emotional. Grief also lives within the body. And it also impacts your identity because you may no longer be someone's wife, someone's child in the same way, someone in that relationship dynamic, or someone's mother. And that shift can feel even more disorienting because you're not just grieving the person then, you're grieving the version of yourself that existed in relation to them. And friend, I also want you to know that grief is not linear. It doesn't follow a prescriptive timeline. It doesn't move in nice, neat little stages from one to the next. It comes in waves. There are moments where you feel okay and you're laughing and you're smiling. And on the drop of a dime, you can have a moment where it hits just as strongly as it did in the very beginning. And perhaps most importantly, I want you to know that grief often continues long after the world expects you to be okay. And that in itself can make people feel isolated in their healing. So I want to clarify the transformation of grief for you. Grief changes you, not always in big dramatic ways, but in subtle, lasting ways. It can make you more aware of time. It can make you more intentional with your relationships. And it can make you more sensitive to what truly matters in this life. It can deepen your compassion. And it can shift your priorities. It can make you less tolerant of things that don't align with your values. But transformation doesn't mean that the pain disappears. It means you learn how to carry it differently. And it becomes something that exists alongside your life, not something that defines each and every moment of it. And so if you are navigating loss right now, new or old, doesn't matter. I want to offer you this reflection to take to your journal. Ask yourself this question: what has this loss changed within me that I am still learning how to understand? And this question: what parts of myself am I learning to carry forward, even in the presence of grief? Now, with those questions tucked away for your quiet time, I want to recap the series, the Heartbreak series. And I want to bring us back to the series as a unit, as a whole. Because we learned throughout these 4 episodes that heartbreak has many, many faces. For some, it looks like losing love. For others, it looks like losing connection. For others, it looks like life not unfolding the way that you had hoped. And for many, it looks like loss and grief. But I want you to know that no matter how heartbreak shows up in your life, there is one thing that connects all of it together. And that is the fact that it changes you, friend. And the work is not to become who you were before. The work is to learn who you are becoming now. So if you've seen yourself anywhere in this series, in any of these forms of heartbreak, I want you to know this. You are not alone in what you're carrying. And healing doesn't mean forgetting. Healing actually means learning how to move forward with compassion for yourself. And as a reminder, I always say this, it's not just you, and it's not just me, it's us. Well, that's it for today, my friend. I really hope this episode inspired, encouraged, or just plain comforted you. If so, please share it with a friend who might be struggling in her own healing journey. And if you take a moment to leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, you'll help other women find encouragement through their heartbreak. Remember that God is holding your hand along this journey, and guess what? I'm holding the other. Life is short, so bounce back, Black woman.